These are the hands of enterprise, the hands of men and women at work in the Dayton area. These are their stories, stories of enterprise. Enterprise is brought to you by the Printing Service and Rapid Printing Company. Now here is your host on Enterprise, Glenn Walters.
Good evening. Well, in only a little over 24 hours, the year 1958 will come to an end. And so perhaps it's appropriate as well as traditional this evening that we pause for a few moments to look back on Enterprise 1958. We began early in the year, in fact, on the third week of January, to bring you what we considered a particularly important story. In a special series, we introduced you to some outstanding space pioneers. For example, there was Major Arthur Kit Murray, the first man to fly higher than 90% of the Earth's atmosphere. Kit showed you, in the first public showing, films from his X-1A wingtip camera as he penetrated the eerie dimness of space, and then suddenly blacking out, fell 70,000 feet out of control before recovering his ship, a ship which he himself described as more a bullet than an airplane. We met Mr. Pete Murray, one of our nation's top missile development scientists, who brought us a very clear understanding of the development and evolution of the guided missile, from Boss Kett's early flying torpedo to today's mighty Atlas. Later on in the series, we met Dr. Rufus R. Hesberg, Biophysics Branch Director of the Aeromedical Laboratory, in another unusual first public showing of an Air Force film study, this time a study of the blood flow under the G-forces which man will encounter upon re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere from outer space, a condition simulated on the human centrifuge with Dr. Hesberg himself the subject of the test. We had many appreciative comments and notes from viewers after Mr. Kenton W. Zart of the Wright Air Development Systems Planning Division gave us a clear, accurate, and understandable report on what makes a successful satellite go into orbit and stay there. This was a particularly timely report, brought to you less than 24 hours after Explorer 1 had been fired into orbit. We're proud that the Air Force chose Enterprise as the vehicle for its first public disclosure of the full story of man's venture into space, a special series which will grow and continue in 1959. Well, in spite of the excitement and the appeal of the space venture, it soon became apparent that this was a year to keep our editorial feet planted firmly on the ground, for it was a year of recession and realignment of business values. There was turbulence, and unfortunately there was also some pessimism. To fight the pessimism, we placed a heavy accent on stories of success, success through optimism and confidence. Such a story was that of the Dorothy Lane Market. In only 10 years, this store had grown from a corner fruit stand to $1 million supermarket that sells the amazing amount of 5% of all the groceries in the greater Dayton area, and is known and studied by retailers around the world. Another success story, really a success story in the making, was that of the K.W. Johnson Company. Here, President Ken Johnson showed us the remarkable vibration control device, which is the major product in the story of his company, a company that is growing and prospering through ingenuity in the solving of one of the major problems of the age of space. Another outstanding success story in our community was brought to us through the personality of Mr. Mel Spade, President of the Standard Register Company. This company's employment under his 25 years of leadership had grown from 150 people to 3,600 people, and Standard Register's sales in that same period have increased nearly 50 times over, making the science of paperwork simplification a common and valuable business tool throughout the world. Well, tonight we're bringing you what might be called our Enterprise Annual Report for 1958. And it occurred to me that perhaps you too may be at this time of year preparing your company's annual report. This is a very important thing, this annual evaluation